things start with a good idea, then they get institutionalized, you get organizations, and when you have large organizations, you run the risk of rituality. So oftentimes in CSR and CSR reporting, we have rituality. How to get around that? How can we deal with that? Can we go beyond that? CSR reporting, written reports. I will concentrate on written communication and reading CSR reports. It was said before by Yami that there is too much emphasis on reporting. I agree with that. However, I believe that from reports, you can tell the institution. It's like when you go to the psychoanalyst, if you know what your problem is, you are telling your problem. If you're not, if you are faking it, the psychoanalyst is going to be able to figure it out anyway. He won't tell you what it is your problem, but he will know. So my hypothesis is that by reading a CSR report, we can tell what the institution is about, whether it is being honest or not. I will propose a 4-value framework to analyze CSR reports and to write CSR reports. Well, no, we should go back. Okay, unknown stakeholder. The first value is the unknown stakeholder. Like the unknown soldier that has monuments all around the world, stakeholders, the vocal stakeholders are there and we know them. I think we should take into account the non-vocal stakeholders, the stakeholders that don't know they have a stake. And there are many of that. Think of the many institutions that have consumers as stakeholders or citizens as stakeholders, and oftentimes it is not worth their while to argue with the institution. The logic of collective action does not allow them to take arms against the sea of troubles and act, but they are there. So I think when analyzing a CSR report, we should think of those who are not taken into account in the behavior of the organization. CSR is a great opportunity, a chance for theories of organizational behavior. CSR is a great opportunity to bring forth all the inefficiencies and of organizational behavior, from Herbert Simon satisficing to all the others. I think there is an opportunity for bringing forth all the illnesses of organizational behavior. I don't quite agree that being good is not enough. I think being good is still very difficult. I think organizations are still, all organizations muddle through just by their inherent difficulties. So the paradigm, my paradigm tends to prevent irresponsibility more than being better and being more good, if that is allowed grammatically. The second value is the value of disclosure. This is very well known, being open. I would think of it rather as a micro disclosure. We have CSR reports that are 167 pages, 245. So I think brevity would be of the essence here. Identifying issues. After 36 years that Howard Chase identified issue management, I rediscovered it, and Tony Musi-Falcone made me know that that had already been invented. So identify those 3 or 4 issues that you organization think are important, and those should come out also of the CSR report. Doubt and vulnerability, every once in a while, one could say that things didn't go the right way, didn't go the way it was expected. That's very seldom found in CSR reporting. Thank you very much for the third value is implementation. It's important to say what actually happened. It's important to say, to try to quantify things. It's not nice that I get a list of 450 KPIs in the CSR report without telling me the 2 or 3 that you think are important. Things are complex, so in organizations, here is a nice way to sharpen a pencil in an organizational fashion. This appreciation for complexity makes us a little wary about indices and quick answers, surveys and the like. You, dear CEO, do you think sustainability is going to be important for your corporation in the next 10 years? What's the answer? Yes. So it's more narrative, perhaps, is sometime in point, and an appreciation of technicalities, because oftentimes the details can make a difference between good and bad. Thank you. Microethics. We have a lot of codes of ethics around. Those are not compulsory. Once you publish a code of ethics, well, then it's important to be up to it and following the value of implementation, taking responsibility for it, and try to show actually how do you do this? How do you implement this? The statement is not enough. Saying we are a cooperative society, we are a non-profit institution. It is in our DNA. Things based on DNA may not be very nice. Racism is based on DNA. So it's important to show how things are being done, and it's not problem-solving oriented. It's how in daily operations people are being even nicer to each other. That's not terrible. That's not impossible to be, and that is also an element of microethics, as opposed to big ethics. Abortion. Is there life after death? Is there life before death? Next. So those are the 4 values we can use to improve our way of seeing CSR and our way of reporting CSR. I think what we find depends on how we go about finding it. So what kind of CSR are we going to find once we try to observe those values? We do not find a CSR that is on top of things, on top of usual business. We don't find those values don't help us if we think of CSR of something you do beyond management, beyond being lawful. Those values help us if you think of CSR as a way of going into the core business of the organization and try to identify the different ways, the different options you have in your behavior, and distinguish what is more responsible and what is less responsible. So CSR is not the onion of behavior, is the knife that helps us identify the different options we have. Next, please. Okay. This kind of CSR is a CSR for all organizations. This is an interesting result, I think. So, for instance, the Ministry of Labor could worry not only about corporations, but also about, not only about state-owned corporations, but also about the workings of the Ministry of Labor itself. So we have noted that 50%, more than 50% of our economies is non-business, non-subject to competition. And what better instrument than CSR to give account of the workings of all the sectors that are not subject to competition to the people. So this way, if we define CSR this way, we can use CSR to analyze all the world of labor, all work. One report, reflexive function of PR. This is very important. The values and this kind of CSR sought for within the core business of the organization delivers us a strong importance of the sort of perhaps Cinderella function of PR, that is the reflexive function of public relations, that is the internal communication, the organization thinking about itself. When you have to put together this kind of CSR report, you go around the organization and elicit data and information and thinking about what you are doing. So, and the skills for reporting imply getting within the business. So communications and business, communication and business. This way, we end up, I hope I bring forth to the foreground values that were neglected, such as the value of competition. We oftentimes think of competition as something that is only cutthroat, and stakeholders that may not be there, but are there, competitors, government as an object, not only as a someone pointing to others as that ought to be responsible, but governments that are meant to be responsible themselves. More ideas, obviously, are in this book. Thank you very much.